So there's many problems and many discussions and debates going around in our country, in our nation right now. Different topics of discussion, but one of the more prevalent, more talked about, more more purpose driven. It may not be a good purpose. Something that's dealt with more action and intention, not just from leaders, but from a society as a whole in different areas. That would be racism. We've seen a slew of new ideas and actions that have been taken over the past year and a half or so since the summer of 2020. And it just doesn't seem like there's an end to to the chaos, which in my opinion is what most of it is. You know, it's funny if you look at some of the shows that come on television nowadays. You got this show called Blackish. IMDb says that it's a family man struggles to gain a sense of cultural identity while raising his kids in a predominantly white, upper middle class neighborhood. There's another show called The Neighborhood. A friendly guy from the Midwest tries to fit in a tough LA neighborhood. I've never seen Blackish. I have seen The Neighborhood. I've stopped watching it at this time because of the garbage that it's filled with. Is it a funny show? It is. It's pretty funny. So it's a white guy who moves into a black neighborhood. The black people, they don't treat him like they treat each other. They treat him differently. They treat him in a way that shows he's an outsider. He doesn't fit in. So it begs the question, well, what if we created shows? What if white people created shows that was called Whitish? And we just reversed the roles. What if we created The Neighborhood and we called it something else, something that fit in with what people classify us to live in, and we reverse the roles as a black guy who moves in with his family to this white neighborhood, this white area, and we treat him as an outsider, as different. We don't treat him the same. Would that sit well with society and with our media, with our leadership? I don't think it would. I think it would radically cause some problems, and it would be demanded that we take it off, that we shut that down, that this is racism, that this is not what we stand for. But see, whenever the roles are reversed, it's different. There's a different expectation. There's a different set of rules that we follow, which nobody seems to know what they are. It's ever changing, and no one's on the same page about it. You know, the other day I was at work and the news was on. I didn't hear what they were saying, but I see the headline at the bottom that talks about Asian hate. So we move from Black Lives Matter. We have Asian hate now. What will we think of next? In my opinion, that these ideas, these campaigns, they're really just built into a cultish type of agenda, and I believe it's fueled by the ambition is fueled by money, by funding. And we can see that with the founder or co-founder of BLM a few days or weeks back, whenever she would take that funding and use it elsewhere. These groups aren't aren't seeking what principles I believe they've put on paper. They talk about one thing, but they do something completely different. But in the midst of all these things that are happening, who's leading us? Who is leading us? Well, if we live in a normal USA, it should be the president, it should be our political system who is leading us. Well, let me back up. If our nation was living by our founding fathers, our principles that we've had at one point, it'd be God that was leading us, and it'd be His word that we were clinging to be bettering ourselves and bettering our nation. But looking at where we've transitioned to, in the Bible has pretty much been tossed out the window. So who's leading us? Well, it should be our president, our leaders, or our elected officials that we put in place in office. And so the New York Post reports this. President Biden on Tuesday, this is a few days ago, on Tuesday, praised the conviction of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin for murdering George Floyd, but also accused the United States of deep-seated systematic racism. As he said, the guilty verdict was too rare. It was a murder in the full light of day, and it ripped the blinders off for the whole world to see the systematic racism the vice president just referred to. It's funny that the vice president talked before the president. Something's not right there. Biden said in an evening speech at the White House, the systematic racism that's a stain on our nation's soul, the knee on the neck of justice for Black Americans, profound fear and trauma, the pain, the exhaustion that Black and brown Americans experience every single day. I don't know about you, but first, is what Derek Chauvin did right or wrong? Based on what little evidence I have from the media, based on what little video footage I've seen, because from what I understand, we saw about 9.5 minutes of it, and there's like 30, 40 or so minutes plus of what actually happened, which we don't know, which we can't see. Based on what I saw, yes, I do believe that he should have acted a little bit differently. Nevertheless, I wasn't there. I wasn't there in that situation, and I wasn't a part of that. Is what happened to him, to Derek Chauvin in trial, was that justice? I don't believe so. I believe there's many things that went wrong, and that could have gone completely different. But again, I don't like my leadership, the people who run our country. I don't like them. I say them. I don't like Biden talking like this. I don't believe it's true. Numerous people have stood out and stood up against this and this idea. I don't believe that there's systematic racism going on in our country. I don't believe there is as deep-seated problems as they want us to believe in, and based on what you can hear from Harris and from Biden, more so than not, they are driving wedges between people. They are trying to separate us more than they are trying to unify us. So another sign of racism that would never be accepted if the roles were reversed. So there's this, apparently from New York Post, they wrote about this sacred space, if you will, for George Floyd, a space for community, public grief, and protest, where he where he was held down by the officer. Not where he died. I don't believe, from what I understand, he didn't die there. He didn't die by Derek Chauvin. He died from an overdose on drugs. But where he allegedly died, they put up this sanctuary. Now, I don't know how they treat this area, but it was on a sidewalk on a city street. To my knowledge, it's government property. So, I mean, you're not going to tell someone how they are supposed to act or not in that said area. It makes no sense. So it tells you to enter with reverence and humility and all that good stuff. But then at the bottom, it says this, and you can go check it out yourself. But it's ridiculous for white people in particular. That's what this page, this banner, this flyer says. Decenter yourself and come to listen, learn more, and witness. Remember, you are here to support, not be supported. Be mindful of whether your volume, pace, and movements are supporting or undermining your efforts to decenter yourself. Seek to contribute to the energy of the space rather than drain it. Bring your own processing to other white folks so that you will not harm the BIPOC. Consider if you want or need to take photos and post them. Do not take photos of other people without their consent. And this last one, if you witness white folks doing problematic things, speak up with compassion to take the burden off black folks and our siblings of color whenever appropriate. Seek to engage rather than escalate so that it can be a learning moment rather than a disruption. Holy cow. Again, if the roles were reversed, and we put up a banner of a white guy that passed away, and we said, for black people in particular, I need you to act this way, there would be mass chaos that would break out. That would not be tolerable. Period. So why is this accepted? Why is this accepted? Because going back to this BLM idea, from this other website that I've read about, Radiance Foundation, they give some reasons why they would never join the BLM movement, and two things that stand out for this in particular is that, number one, they're not seeking forgiveness. They're not seeking unity. They're not. What they're seeking is to receive something, to be paid back something for the wrongs that were done to them, or not even to them, but just in the past that they talk about. It's sad when anybody passes away. Don't misunderstand me. But it's sad whenever we are memorializing this man, George Floyd, when he, from what I know, from what I read, he did nothing that deserves to be remembered. From what I understand, he's a drug addict. He's robbed people. He's put them at gunpoint. He's been in jail numerous times. But yet we're going to put him up on a banner, on a wall, and we're going to remember him, as some people say, as a figure of justice, as in my opinion, we've raised him up as some kind of God. And it's not what he did. He didn't sacrifice anything. When he was arrested, he was on drugs, which later killed him. And in the midst of that, he was trying to pass off fake money. That's not someone we should be memorializing. We should not be remembering him as a hero, because he's not. New York Times told us that Biden denounces storming of Capitol as a dark moment in nation's history. I'm sure you guys remember that back in January, whenever Biden and Trump were kind of, they were transferring, positions of power and things of that nature. Well, things are still being said about this. Things are still coming up. CBS News reports on here. Mike Fanone, a D.C. Metropolitan Police officer, said he was defending a doorway to the Capitol on January 6th when he was pulled into the crowd alone, beaten with fists and metal objects, stripped of his badge and ammunition, and shocked multiple times with a taser. And quote, "And many times I still live my life as if January 7th, 2021, Fanone said in a letter obtained first by CBS News. I struggle daily with the emotional anxiety of having survived such a traumatic event, but I also struggle with the anxiety of hearing those who continue to downplay the events of that day and those who would ignore them altogether with their lack of acknowledgement." So everything I've heard from that point to now, I haven't heard of violence being one of the key takeaways. That what happened there was disruption. What happened there was destruction of property. What happened there was a disturbance. I believe there's one officer who died. I don't think that, from what I understand, I don't believe it was any cause that someone did. I could be mistaken. But it was a disruption. It was a disruption by the Republican Party, who the Democratic leaders are saying was started and rallied by President Trump, which it was not, which the footage in the film clearly states otherwise, that he never once said that we should do this in the way that it was done. Was I there for that event? No, I wasn't. Could it be traumatic for someone? Absolutely. If some people are going to charge in at you, if people are going to again disrupt your normal day-to-day activity, and you have no idea what their plans are, sure, that can be very traumatizing. But it's, why are we focusing on this? Why are we still bringing this up when we don't bring up other problems? Should the people who disrupted and destroyed property, should they be held accountable? Absolutely. I think they should. But what about going back, 6 months from January, in the summertime, whenever we had rioters out destroying and burning and looting public property, private property, when we have people who were dying in the handfuls? Why aren't we doing anything about that? Why don't we still talk about that? Why are we not seeing more news about that? When we have potentially leadership, when we have other public funding that's raised to bail people out of jail who deserve to be there because of what they did. There's a cost for your actions. You're going to pay the price. That's what happened. That's justice. But we're treating people different, given different situations, different skin colors, different political parties. We're treating them different. CNN said the Justice Department has charged at least 400 people in connection with the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. Again, where's the numbers? Where are the statistics for the other riots, the other actual violent protests whereas the one on Capitol Hill was for the most part a peaceful protest. Again, who do we have in leadership? Fox News tells us, you might have seen this video, the CIA in this 2-minute video that they did featured 36-year-old Latina agent who describes herself as intersectional, cisgender, millennial. I'm telling you, they're coming up with so many gender ideologies that I can't keep track of all of them. Based on what I know and based on the Bible, there's male and female. God doesn't make mistakes when he formed us in our mother's womb, as the Bible tells us. He made you male, he made you female. Period. There's no changing and undoing what God did. You are one or the other. But Fox News goes on with this CIA article. In 2019, we started our ongoing social media series, Humans of CIA, where we share stories about real officers and their roles advancing the agency's national security mission. Our goal is to humanize CIA through our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook accounts so followers can see themselves here and apply. I don't know much about the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, but I don't think they should be concerned about blogging on Humans of CIA and posting things on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. I don't think that's what they should be concerned about. Assuming they're doing their job the way they should be, the reason the agency is there. Former CIA officer Brian Dean Wright took issue with this video, tweeting, "The CIA used to be about mission to country." And he says, "I speak from experience. Now it's about demanding and getting accommodation to fix an emotional wound or advance a personal agenda. America is less safe with this new CIA and dangerously more political." The CIA recruitment video is a joke and truly embarrassing for our entire country. It actually came from The View, co-host Meghan McCain, which is shocking. China, Russia, and our enemies are laughing at us. And I agree. We have poor leadership, if it's even right to say the word leadership in association with who we have now. It's downright ridiculous. Other countries, other nations, they don't take us seriously. They don't respect us. Not compared to who we had before Biden. Did Trump do everything right? I don't believe so. There's many things I disagreed with that he did. But he didn't let people walk all over him. He didn't fold. He pushed on no matter what to get the job done. Was it messy sometimes? Maybe. But if we just look at our southern border, we didn't have people crossing the border like we do right now when Trump was in office. They knew better. And so who is leading us? Well, as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord. That's who should be leading us. As individuals, as a nation, that's who should be leading us. God should be leading us through his word. If we allowed him to do that, if we allowed him to do that, then there really is nothing. There really is nothing that would stand in our way. Again, that's what our founding fathers, that's what our our nation was built on. But we've let that dribble away. A very, very familiar verse, 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land. It really is that simple. Turning to God, telling him, God, we turn from what we want to do, what we desire to do. We turn from those wicked things and we worship you. So if God is leading us in our country, then I would pray that our leadership would be doing that same thing, that they would be being led by God, and therefore when they lead us and when they lead the nation, it'll be a smooth ride. Will there be problems? Sure. There will always be problems. This is a broken world. But who's leading us? I don't like the way that Biden's leading us. I don't like the way that Harris is leading us. Our political leadership needs a makeover bad. And we need more people who are being led by God to stand up to our leaders who are not being led by God and who are being led by the world. And that's a scary place to be. And the Bible tells us there's basically two things, two paths. You're either led by God or you're led by Satan. People don't like to hear that, or people like to say, I don't believe in that stuff, because they just want to discard the idea altogether in their mind. You're either led by God or led by the world, which is the devil. Plain and simple. So if you guys like what you hear, if you agree with something, please let me know. I would love to hear from you. If you disagree with something I've said, please let me know. That way I can double down or triple down if I need to, or I can talk about it and restate something that I've said. So I appreciate your guys' time.